Hey everyone, Carolina Venom here. Today I'm doing my final review of the LG Realm from Boost Mobile. And the reason why I'm saying the final review is because I am going to return this phone. Not because there's anything wrong with it, it's just because when I bought the LG Realm, I also bought the LG Volt with Boost Mobile as well. So I will get into 3 reasons why I am returning the LG Realm right now, actually. And also, if you want to see the specs of the phone, the benchmark test and all that stuff, and the rundown of the phone, you can watch my LG Realm introduction video review on my channel. And it will explain all the processors and what everything does and all that good stuff. So this is basically just my thoughts on the phone after using it for a couple of days and all that good stuff. I activated the phone this past Sunday, and it is Tuesday, October the 7th, and I activated it on Sunday, October the 5th. And I have been using it pretty hard and heavy the past couple of days, and I've only charged it one time. I gave it a full charge, and I was able to get until around midnight tonight on a full charge. And that was about an hour or two of talking on the phone, sending a few text messages, receiving emails, watching YouTube, on Facebook Messenger, looking up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, stuff like that. Just the moderate stuff that you do on a phone every day. And I was able to get, a day, maybe a little over a day, depending on how you use it. And if you're also in a low coverage area and keep it on the mobile network in 3G, it does seem to use more battery life than if you're on Wi-Fi. So, with that being said, battery life is pretty decent on this phone, and it's nothing that's really bad. It does pretty well. So, but the 3 main gripes that I have with this phone is, number 1 is no LTE. This is strictly a 3G device. And this phone is just like the Exceed 2 for Verizon Wireless. The only difference with this phone here is it adds a front-facing camera, which is a major improvement in my opinion opposed to the Exceed 2. But the number 1 reason why I'm returning it is no LTE. And the reason why I did buy the Realm and the LG Volt was to see, this is an LTE device, 3G device. Of course, the Volt was higher. That's why I bought this phone for cheaper, but the 3G just don't cut it. I did some tests today out and about with 3G, and whenever you're pushing 20 megabits download, on LTE, and you go down to like 1 to 2 megabits download in the best coverage area, then that's a really big drop. And to me, I just don't like the 3G network on Sprint. And I will show you the speed test that I ran here in just a few minutes. Number 2 is the low storage space available to user. You get between 1.3 and 1.4 gigabytes of maximum user storage. And of course, you can move some apps to the SD card, even though all of the data don't go to your SD card and there's still some left on the phone. It does allow for more apps, but 1.3 or 1.4 gigabytes of user storage just is nowhere near enough, considering that some games are 400 to 500 megabytes alone. And that makes up almost half of the user storage. So, that really it's really bad that LG is really lowering their user storage on their lower end devices. And this is a very nice device. For the price of around $40 to $60, depending on where you buy it or get it on sale, this is a really good device. I mean, it's got a nice 4.5 inch display, you know, a 5 megapixel camera on the back with flash, front facing camera. The screen does look good. Now, if you are a picky person about screen, you know, it's no HD display by any means, but it does look very well. And the third reason that I am returning it is the camcorder. Now, of course, now this is important to some it don't really matter, but it only records max WVGA at 800 by 480 resolution, and there's no HD recording, and the max resolution recording is pretty fuzzy at best. It's not the greatest. So, you know, that's the three main things with this phone here. Number one, like I say, no LTE. Number two, the low user storage and no HD recording. But this phone does about anything you want it to do, and it does it pretty well. The phone is very smooth. The screen does look good, and I got it loaded down with, you know, quite a bit of apps. You know, not a ton of apps, but you know, I do got quite a bit on here, and the phone still does seem to do very well, very smooth, and really not had any issue with lag. And you know, like I said, it's just a very good phone in general. And I know that 2 days of using the phone really does not, you know, give a long enough time to see how the phone actually works and how it's going to work. But since I'm returning this phone, then I wanted to go ahead and just do this review tonight, because I have used it pretty heavy and it does seem to hold up very well. So, you know, like I say, you know, the LG Realm, you know, 3G device being between, you know, 40 and 60 bucks depending on where you buy it from. There's really not a phone out there, in my opinion, that's going to mount up to the LG Realm for Boost Mobile if you're wanting a cheap device that's got decent specs, a good looking screen, and has little lag. I mean, it's a really good phone. Now, watching YouTube videos, since the screen is not a really high-res screen, has some trouble. Watching HD videos, sometimes I have had mine lag. Even they'll be talking, and if I'm watching a video, they'll be talking, but the video will be choppy and it will not follow along just right sometimes. And there'll be times that it will do just fine. It just depends, I guess, on the mood it's in at the time. But if you was to have a 720 video on an SD card, you can about forget this thing playing it. It just won't do it. It's just very choppy. So it does have an issue playing, you know, 720 or 1080 videos, since the screen cannot handle that kind of, you know, resolution. But other than that, it's a really nice phone. I did do a couple of speed tests. I did 2 here at home, and like I've said before, I live in a supposedly no coverage area. I am in no data coverage and no voice coverage, but as you see, there is 3G, no bars of service. But I was able to get a little bit of speeds down. Let's find speed test. I know it's here somewhere. And we'll look at the results. And the top 2 is the ones I took here at home just a few minutes ago. And as you see, they're pretty much pointless and they really don't do any count. These tests down here are what I took today when I was out and about. The first one being 0.84 megabits download with 0.89 megabits upload with a ping of 78. And 1 minute later, the test went from 0.84 to 1.33 megabits download and 0.81 megabits upload with a ping of 63. So the best test I've ever pulled on Virgin Mobile Boost Mobile is about 2.5 megabits download, which, you know, is not bad if you want to, you know, check Facebook, emails, stuff like that. Now, as far as watching YouTube videos, you may have a little bit of hiccup here and there, but still it's going to work okay. Signal strength. This phone has been very good on signal strength. If you live in a lower coverage area, this phone for some reason has a pretty powerful antenna. And I used to be a pretty negative person when it comes to LG phones, because I've had a lot of bad experiences before with LG phones. But here recently, a lot of my phones are LG, and I really had no issue with them whatsoever. So I'm really kind of changing my mind on LG devices compared to what I used to think about them. So this is a good phone. And call quality is also good. It's clear. I'm not going to do any kind of gameplay on this phone, nothing like that. If you want to see gameplay, look at the Exceed 2. With gameplay, it's the same processor, it's the same phone. There's no difference. Like I said, the only difference between these two phones, between the Exceed 2 and the Realm, is the front-facing camera that the Realm adds, and the PPI is like 8 points higher than the Exceed 2. So that's really the only difference. It says a PPI of 207, the Exceed 2 has a PPI of 199. So not much difference there. But this is an excellent phone, and I really highly recommend this phone. It does look good, of course. Take off the back cover, and it will expose your battery, which is 2100 milliamp hour battery. And like I said, you can get through a full day of moderate usage. Up here is your micro SD card slot, and that's about it. Nothing much else to it. But the phone does seem to be fairly well made. It's nothing spectacular, but for the price point that you pay for the phone, it is nice. Like I say, nice call quality, really good reception. The good thing about living in a no coverage area is when you buy a phone and you can actually sit in your house with a bar or two of service and talk clear, knowing you live in a no coverage area, and still gaining service, I gotta say it's a pretty good phone for reception. And I really believe that if you're looking for a phone with great reception, the LG Realm does perform very well in that department. I really can't think of nothing else to say about this phone, to be honest with you. Like I said, if you want to see all the specs and the benchmark test of this phone, you can check out my video on my channel with the intro video. I know that you really can't tell how a phone's going to do after only 2 days of usage, but like I said, I have used the far out of it the past couple of days that I have used it, and it's really held up good. And I really hate to return it, but I would keep the phone. But the only problem is I'm not really sure if this really matters or not. But if you're on the promotional data plans, or on the new promotional plans that end November the 3rd, if you got an LTE device and you want to do an ESN change to a 3G device, it will say that the phone is not capable with your plan. So you got to call Boost Mobile, and they will go in there and they will change the phone, and it says your plan has changed even though your plan is still the same. So I'm not sure, in me, I'm not satisfied with using just one phone. I might be in the mood to use my ZTE Warp 4G one day. A week later, the LG Volt. A week later, the Kyocera Hydro Icon. I'm just never satisfied with using one phone for very long. So going from LTE to 3G and having to change some stuff around, I'm afraid that you may lose your promotional data, your promotional plan come November. So therefore, I have no reason for this 3G device, because like I said, the LG Volt looks the same and it's a little bit bigger, but it's a lot better and everything. So if you got any questions or comments about this phone, please feel free to ask me. I really can't think of anything else to say about it other than the fact that the phone does work very well. I love the way the keyboard is on this phone. Of course, the vibrating feedback is very weak. You can barely feel it vibrate. But I love the natural look of the keyboard. You got, of course, natural, basic LG keyboard and black, so that you can get different colors. And I like the way this here looks. I think it looks awesome and everything, and all that cool stuff. But like I say, the phone is very smooth. It's pretty much right now I got a bunch of apps on here that I use, and I've not had one hiccup with this phone. So with all that being said, I give it a 7 out of a 10, mainly because of the 3 downfalls. Takes a point off for each 3, or for each one, because to me they're major problems that I would consider with the phone. But then again, if you live in a 3G area, the LTE won't bother you. If you're not much of a gamer or a lot of apps, the lower storage ain't gonna bother you either. And if you're not much of a camera user or a camcorder user, then that ain't gonna bother you either. So I mean, like I said, for a phone you can get for 40 to 50, 60 bucks, depending on where you buy it from, it's a go. I think it's a good phone. Recommended. I would definitely check it out. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to try to get in a few pictures and videos before I return it. I want to try. I can't make no promises right now, but I'm going to try to. But anyway, got any questions or comments, please feel free to ask me. Subscribe to my channel. I sure would appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. I will talk to y'all later.